So, constant lists, it's awesome. It's in progress. I would say it's in the alpha stage. Ian, you've done such a great job, kind of getting the community out there.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's it's cool to hear someone thinks it's in alpha too, because I still am terrified to say anything like that and make commitments. But I'll change over to the constant list page. I'll just go through a few of the updates that have come out. Because it's been what, not last stream, the stream before was the last stream we were at all in the website. So there's been some changes, which I'm excited to share. So I'll transition over, and then we will go through some of the updates. So just a reminder, at the bottom, you can see QR codes to join our Discord, and join our Patreon and support. Right now, there's only one level for Patreon. It's $5 a month. And it's really, I mean, to be quite frank, since we've turned it on and people have jumped in, most, if not all, of the really big changes to the site have come from the patrons. You're going to see a couple of those tonight, which I'm super excited to share. Um, there's just been a lot of there's been a lot of engagement, which has been really great. And we are about 2 months in, I think, to the Patreon. Um, and there's been I just put a check-in survey out to the patrons, and so far it seems like everyone that's paying feels like they're a part of the experience, which is great to hear. Um, but yeah, we'll jump into some features that I added within the past excuse me, week or two. And we'll start actually. We'll go into this white elephant deck actually. This is the deck I've kind of been working in mostly. Actually, no, I won't do that because I don't want to spoil my white elephant for those that might be participating in our Magic Night later this month. So actually what I'll do is I will go into this Turgid deck, because, that's just, it's Turgid. So we'll open it up. We still have to build that Tifa deck, by the way. So right away, what you'll probably notice, if you were on any of the past live streams, um, the deck list was in a list mode. And the view modes were on on the left hand side. I moved them front and center, so now you can change to the list mode. So this might look familiar to those of you that were on the stream, the first two streams, or you can change it. In this case, I had it in stacks mode. Grid mode is still under construction, so it's there. It just isn't fully tuned, so there's still some work to do there. But stacks mode is pretty cool. So this actually came from Zach, one of our patrons, and a close friend of ours, and a very kind of cornerstone of our community that's been in for a long time. Um, and underneath the hood here, this feature is actually called Zach's Stacks in the code. Fun fact. So Zach is a huge Architect user, and I don't hold that against him because I was the big Moxfield user, so we would always debate who was right. And at one point, Zach has, aside from me, he has the largest deck creation count on the website right now. So I asked him, I was like, "Hey, what do I need to make, or what could I do to get the site to be more, I guess, like supportive of your use, or you would use it primarily, or you could step away from Architect? Because if I can do that, like I know I've won to some degree." And he said, there's really two things. One is a stack view, and the other is another feature, which I'll get to in just a minute. And both those I did get put up and running. So this is the stacks view. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it, and maybe I'm biased now just because I worked on it. But stacks view is kind of just like it says. There's stacks of cards. You can hover over the cards to move the stack. The stack, obviously updates as you move around. There were some fun things to tackle, which was the bottom card being frozen so it doesn't move when you hover over the bottom card. I also added in flip animations, which are kind of cool. So if you have flip cards, it'll actually animate to flip and move to the other side, which is fun. Just little things like that. Foil is super obvious, which that was always kind of a pain point for me. Was sometimes it wasn't obvious enough which cards were foil. So maybe I went a little overboard, but I think it's pretty obvious which cards you have foil in your deck. There's also on the top left corner, we have a quantity indicator. The red dot underneath the quantity indicator is a collection indicator. You'll see that across the site. So there's a lot of other places you'll see red, green, and yellow in accordance with your collection status for a card. And then the other indicator underneath that, in case the effect wasn't obvious enough, is a foil indicator icon as well. So you can kind of get the whole gamut there. The left-hand side of the card is actually some really good real estate to put icons and indicators like that. So I'm probably going to leverage that more as time goes on, because you're not really cutting off much on the left-hand side of a card, except maybe a little bit of artwork. Um, so jumping into the kind of next somewhat big feature I'm kind of excited about is I come from like a project program management background, and I'm pretty keen on using statuses for things. And one of the things that always kind of bugged me about about other sites was there weren't statuses that you could set for your decks. So I've added statuses for decks. So we have the deck is currently in building status. It's built but decommissioned. It's playable, but it still needs some cards, probably like printings or something like that we're like trying to look for. Like we can play the deck, but there's still some things that we want to get to, like, maybe we have the bling me button enabled, right? We don't have all the printings we need. And then there's playable, all cards present. The plan with these is it'll be tied into other things across the site. Um, which I'll show in just a sec, kind of one of the things that it's already been tied into. But I think there's a lot of potential here to use this as an informative point in other areas of the site to show, what the status of the deck is and maybe have different information surface based on that. So if we go to a card here, what we're going to do is I'm going to just click on Turgrid. So there's a few kind of features here that have changed a little bit. If you are a patron and you've been using the site, you may notice some changes here. These arrows, I need to move them just outside of the window, so those will get moved. Don't worry about that. Um, but this was Zach's other feature request. So the other feature request, you'll notice on the left-hand side, there's printings. The printings have been made smaller, so there's two in a row. And that actually made a really big difference with some cards like Soul Ring or Basic Lands, stuff like that. Usually you're looking at the artwork for printings visually. You don't necessarily need to read the text. You should probably know what that is at that point. But Zach's request was, can I get a drop down for printings? In the event, someone doesn't want to scroll, or you have a card like Soul Ring or a card like a Basic Land, right? That's got potentially dozens of printings, hundreds of printings in some cases. Having a drop down menu can allow you to just simply choose that specific card. It'll update your printing, and then you go on from there, right? You can also update it by just clicking on the card itself in the printings list. Works the same way. So that was Zach's other feature request. That was a fun one to implement. It actually was a lot easier. It's funny how web design works. The things you think are going to be hard usually might not be, and vice versa. The things you think are easy break everything. It's always a party. Um, and then on the right-hand side, we showcased this in one of the streams or both of the streams. We do have Oracle tag searching, which is pretty cool. Lets you click on an Oracle tag. We'll do like opponent discard matters, right? It'll open up a window, and that window has Oracle tags that are relevant to ideally the card that you were looking at, right? So you'd probably want these cards potentially in your deck. And this is supposed to just, again, like empower people that maybe don't have as much experience in the game or aren't familiar with the vast catalog of cards that exist in Magic, to find some cards that maybe they didn't know existed. Um, so that feature's still there. That hasn't changed. But what I did add underneath it is this little guy. And this is a deck usage feature. This I don't know of anywhere that has this, so I was really excited to get this to work and add it. But what it does is it actually parses your collection. So if you manage your collection, this will be super handy. If you don't manage a collection actively, this feature might, not inform you as well, but it might encourage you to manage your collection a bit more closely. But what it does is it looks at your collection and then it looks across all of your decks, not just the deck you're in, but every single deck that you've created under your user account, and finds how many cards, how many copies of this Turgid are in your collection, and how many copies of Turgid are across all of your decks that you've created. If you do have the cards, it will give you a green window here that says, I think, like, huzzah, you have all the cards in your collection to meet the deck needs. But in this case, it gives you a message, and this message will update based on what you have. Let's actually go to Soul Ring. That might be a better example. So Soul Ring is seen in 5 decks. It actually doesn't check version specifically right now, which the plan is potentially to do that. I think I don't know if I want to get that micro with it, but I think the potential's there. But it does tell us here there's 5 decks that use this card based on your collection. 5 copies are needed to fulfill all decks' usage of the card. So you could click add to cart, and it would add 5 copies of Soul Ring to the cart feature that exists in the site today. That cart feature we have plans for. Currently, the easy quick plan is that it will link out to places like TCG Player, or our BFF's Mana Pool, who provide us card art every week. So thank you again to Mana Pool. And those, you could purchase from there. But underneath that, it actually tells you which deck has how many copies of Soul Ring, right? So in a commander situation, that's, it's going to make sense. It'll all be ones. But you can see at a glance where all these cards exist or where they should be, right? And each of these deck names are links. So I could actually click on Deeds to the Restless, and okay, I'll fix that. It's not working right now. I could click on this and it would take us to the deck. So that was working just before, but I will fix that. I'm making a note. 1 second. But there's a individual add to cart, so maybe we only want to purchase one Soul Ring today, just for the current deck that we're working in, which is indicated here. It says current. And then that status that I told everybody about, that actually is pulled into this piece here. So we could see um, which decks we are able to play fully, all the cards are present, et cetera, at a glance here as well. So this was always kind of a pain point, and I'm sure if you, like me, potentially have a number of decks that you have built, maybe some decks in the wings that are partially built. Maybe you have cards in them that you might need for another deck or something, right? So it'd be good to know, like, oh, is this deck, active? Like, am I playing it? Or is it a deck that, I'm still building it, so realistically, like, I could choose to pull a card from it if I needed to, if that's physically where that card existed. So I'm really excited about this. This was something that traditionally, if you use deck managers, what you kind of have to do is you have to just like go find the card, hopefully remember where it is, maybe track it down physically in the deck. Moxfield kind of has this, but it's a bit cumbersome. You have to like go through the search field and like search your personal decks, which if you don't remember to click the right thing, you end up searching all the decks across their website. or you end up searching just for the card itself for more information on it. Um, so I'm really jazzed about this feature. And I'm hoping that if you get in there and start playing around with the site, if you're a patron, or if you end up joining us for our server slam, which is coming soon, that you'll enjoy it as well. And I will make sure that these links work so you can actually go to your other decks. Um, that's about it for like big updates. The stacks update was huge. I've done a lot of back end improvement stuff, just making sure that printings stay the printings that you choose. That has been a huge wrestle with the site since I started making it. So I'm hoping that that should be more stable. And just, yeah, I mean, really just a lot of features that have come about in the past few weeks, and again, all fueled almost entirely by our patrons in Patreon. So again, thank you to all the patrons um, for sharing your feedback, for sharing bugs, for sharing things that you think maybe don't work the way they should. It's all fueling all the stuff that we're doing now, because the bones are all here, and now we're getting to have fun with what we kind of craft around them. And as Jared said, here's the bling me button. Here's the help me on poor button. I'm not going to mess with these because this deck is actually set up um, in a way that I don't want to mess with the printings right now. But they do go through and they will find the most expensive cards or the least expensive card printings for every card in your deck. And the difference is drastic. I think we priced out just a simple Helga deck, and Helga ended up being, geez Louise, it was like
Like 5 grand.
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
$4,300 or something if we use Bling Me. And then if we chose the Help Me I'm Poor option, it was like 340 or something. It was like huge difference in price. And it takes a few seconds, but the fact that you can just click a button and it does all of it for you is pretty awesome. And you can at least start at a baseline and then modify as you see fit.
And
Um,
reminder, I think put this on the short list of wants for the bling me and the I'm poor button.
mhm,
At some point, we're going to try to get some toggles in there
yeah.
to establish preference. Like if your idea of a bling me deck is more about secret layers, great. Maybe you can favor secret layers. If you're really into the very like new like promo judge promo foils that only came out once, like
Mhm.
those are the types of things we'd like to get into that button so that it's more than just a single click, as much
Yeah.
as the single click does a ton right now.
It does. It does do a lot. And I think, yeah, I think how that'll work is you would click the button, set up your criteria in a separate window or something similar to that, and then you would kind of run the function. And then it would, do its thing. So yeah, that's on the list. I have a ever growing, sometimes shrinking list of feature requests. The other thing that I put a little bit of work into just to highlight it is the wish list feature. This is the wish list page, and this is saved to the user. A lot of different places in the site, you can add cards to your wish list, which is really great. I personally heavily leverage a wish list myself. But it is by default when you open it, it'll be set to the card wish, which I think that was just a fun flavor thing I did because otherwise there was just nothing there. Um, and you can see the cards that you've added. What I think is kind of cool, and this was something again that kind of drove me nuts from time to time, was I would add a card to my wish list because I was working in a deck that I wanted to put it in. Um, and I would go to my wish list, a month later, a year later, whatever, and I'd be like, I have no idea where that came from. Like, maybe I stumbled upon it and just added it. That's fine too. But if I was adding it to my wish list because it was in a deck, and maybe I put it into my tech ideas or in other systems, it's called like maybe board or considering, I think is what it is in Moxfield. But it actually will point you back to the origin of where you added it from. So I thought that was just a cool little thing to add in there. And again, like there's lots of grouping options. You can group by set. So if you were, going out and trying to purchase these, maybe you decide you want to purchase, all your gate crash cards. And so you could just go and like build a cart with just your gate crash cards. There'll be a plan for this too to add the ability to add these to your cart. That hasn't been implemented yet. I got the visual stuff done, and that's cool. But yeah, this is I'm pretty excited about this one too. This kind of has come a long way. It used to be pretty, I mean, for lack of a better term, kind of janky, and it didn't do a whole lot. You can also add directly to your collection from here, and when you add it to your collection, it'll ask you if you want to remove it from the wish list. And that way you're not, it's not in perpetuity in your wish list forever. And when you get your cards in the mail, you can just go in here and say, oh yeah, I bought these creatures for my wish list. Bing, bang, boom, add them to the collection, and then remove them right away as well. That way they're not floating around in there forever. Um, and also, on that note, if you are purchasing cards from TCG Player or Mana Pool, definitely check out our affiliate links. Those are helping us out a ton. Thank you to Daniel for being our first affiliate link purchase. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, sometimes that happens too when things go offline. Um, but yeah, feel free to use that link and that'll help us out and help pay for some server stuff too. And at no cost to you, just buying the cards you would normally buy. So Jared, I'll hand it back to you, man. Those are kind of all the updates today. Thanks everybody for sticking around through some updates, and we're gonna get into opening some packs.